Ifeoma screamed. With the rage and hatred she had from her past, she grabbed a knife and chopped off Emeka's manhood. Once upon a time, in a small African village, there lived a girl named Ifeoma. Ifeoma was the oldest child of her parents. She was adopted by her parents, Mazi Chukwuemeka and Ngozi, when she was just 6 months old. Her parents struggled to have children for years before they finally decided to adopt her. Ifeoma was so beautiful and her parents showered her with all the love and attention she could ever dream of. However, by the time she clocked 8 years old, Ngozi had a child which she referred to as her own. All the love and attention shifted to Amaka, her little sister. Ifeoma felt neglected. Her parents started regretting why they adopted her. They were unable to return her and so they were stuck together. Her presence became irritating to her parents and her mother turned her into a house help in her home. She would be the only one to do the chores, take care of little Amaka, and also go to the farm. Ifeoma was heartbroken as that was not the life she was used to. However, she always looked forward to going to the farm as that was the time she could spend with her friends. Those days, little girls were not allowed to go to the farm unaccompanied by their elder ones. But Mazi Chukwuemeka cared less. They did not care if something bad happened to Ifeoma, as they no longer wanted her. Ifeoma made friends with all the young boys in the village, and most times, they would assist her to do farm work so she could return home early. She was loved by many in the village, including her little sister Amaka. Few months after Amaka was born, Ngozi took in again and lost the pregnancy. She blamed Ifeoma, accusing her of having bad spirits. Amaka became her only biological child, as she lost all her pregnancy in mysterious ways. Amaka and Ifeoma's love was very special. Her name was the first she ever called. Even with the hatred and ill treatment, her love for her family was unwavering. One unforgettable day, Ifeoma went to her friend's house to call them so that they could all go to the farm as usual. She was told they've all gone to the market to sell the farm produce. Ifeoma was sad. She went home and told Ngozi about it, but she shouted at her and ordered her to go alone, saying that she needed fresh fruits and vegetables. Ifeoma was sad and scared, but she had no choice. Just when she was about leaving, a group of boys grabbed her, blindfolded her, and had their way with her. When she began to scream, they knocked her out, and when they were done with their evil act, they left her for dead. Ifeoma was unconscious. It took her 2 hours before she became conscious again. She struggled home, barely unable to walk. When she got home, she narrated everything that happened to her mother. Ngozi asked her to keep quiet and not to let anyone hear of it, as it will bring scandal to their family name. Coupled with that, she blamed Ifeoma for being careless. Ifeoma cried all through that day, wishing she had disobeyed her mother and stayed back at home, but it was too late. When her father came back home, Ngozi told him what Ifeoma had said, but he joined his wife and started blaming her, warning her not to ever associate with any boy again. Ever since that day, Ifeoma's life took a left turn. She never remained the same again. She stopped associating with her friends. She was always hiding, but this was just the beginning of her nightmare. Few weeks later, she found out that she was pregnant. "I knew you were going to bring shame to this family, But I never knew it would be this quick. You shameless girl, Ngozi said to her, as she packed all her belongings and secretly sent her away to her sister's house in the neighboring village. Ifeoma spent all her days and nights crying, thinking of what would become of her life. Auntie Ada, Ngozi's sister, was of no good. She and her family treated her badly. She was practically their housemaid, but Ifeoma was already used to the maltreatment. Few months later, she gave birth to a very beautiful baby girl. Ifeoma would still do all the house chores and take care of her baby, Chiamaka. This continued for years, and one day, her auntie's husband attempted to touch her inappropriately, but Ifeoma hit his head with a pestle. When Auntie Ada heard of this, she asked Ifeoma to leave her house. Ifeoma begged her, as she had nowhere else to go, but Auntie Ada had no mercy on her. She took her things and that of her daughter and left the house. Luckily for her, she saved up some money from the corn harvest. Ifeoma went far into the village and rented a hut where she and Chiamaka stayed. She would work in people's farms, do all manner of work for people just to survive. She made up her mind that her daughter was not going to experience anything like she did. Rather, she would have all the best in life. She saved up for years, after which she began to rent farmland. She would plant all manner of crops on it. It did not take long. She expanded and began to hire laborers to work on her farms. In the space of 10 years, she owned like 6 plots of land. She took care of her daughter and set her up for a bright future, even if something bad was to happen to her. Ifeoma was bold, relentless, and rich, but this did not sit well with the villagers, as it was a taboo not to be married at a certain age. A lot of people condemned her, saying her daughter Chiamaka would never experience the love and care of her father because of her selfish decisions. This went on for years, but Ifeoma paid no attention to them until one day, a group of children bullied Chiamaka, calling her a fatherless child. When Ifeoma heard this, she confronted the children and their mothers, but she was humiliated. Did they say anything that is wrong? Does your daughter have a father? One of the women said, as the rest agreed with her. Ifeoma went home that day crying, thinking of her daughter and what she must have been feeling all these years. That day, she made up her mind to change her daughter's life. Even if I don't marry for love, my daughter would have someone she calls father, Ifeoma said to herself. She took the thought of marriage serious, and with no hesitation, she married the next available man who came to ask for her hand in marriage. His name was Emeka. Emeka was very nice and gentle. Chiamaka loved him because he always gets her beautiful things and he loved to play with her. Few months into the marriage, Ifeoma took in and gave birth to a baby girl. She was happy and Emeka treated her well. In the village, Ifeoma heard news of girls being taken advantage of. She tried to find out more about it, but none of the victims were willing to speak up. Ifeoma was scared as flashes of the unfortunate incident from years back began to surface. She warned Chiamaka to stop going out, and at the same time she was grateful that Emeka was there to protect her and her little sister Ogechi. The family continued to live in happiness, and Ifeoma continued to support Emeka, as he was not financially buoyant like her. After some time, she stopped giving him money as he was unable to account for how he used it. Emeka told Ifeoma that As the head of the home, she was supposed to transfer all her properties to him, stay at home and take care of the children. This statement was offensive to Ifoma. She remembered how she suffered and built all she had. She couldn't risk losing herself the second time, and so she refused. Emeka would spend all his time at home doing nothing instead of working. It turned out that he married Ifoma just to take over her wealth, but Ifoma refused to give him money any further. Emeka told every ear that cared to listen that Ifoma was a bad wife and that she had failed to perform her marital duties. Soon, the news spread round the village, and the villagers labeled her a condescending woman because Emeka was not rich. But this time around, she stopped caring about what the villagers had to say. She focused on working hard and providing for her children. One day, as she was about going to the farm, she asked Emeka if he would like to come with her, but he turned her down, saying he would stay at home and look after the children. Ifoma asked Chiamaka to stay behind, just in case he decided to leave the house. She could watch her little sister Ogechi. On her way to the farm, she remembered that she forgot to give her neighbor the money for foodstuff. So she went directly to the market and got them herself, so Chiamaka could make soup for lunch. When she got to the house, she heard Chiamaka begging Emeka to stop. She rushed in and saw Emeka on top of her daughter. Ifoma screamed. With the rage and hatred she had from her past, she grabbed a knife and chopped off Emeka's manhood. Ifoma screamed alerted the neighbor, and they ran to their house, shocked to see Ifoma hugging her children and Emeka soaked in his own blood, as his manhood was far away from his body. The villagers were shocked. They immediately knew Ifoma had a hand in it. They took her to the king's palace. On their way, they insulted her, threw dirt at her. This evil woman has succeeded in killing the poor man, some of the women said, as they threatened to deal with her. When they got to the palace, the king looked at her in disgust. "Woman, did you really do that to your husband?" The king asked the former in an angry tone. "Yes, your highness, I did." Everyone began to protest. They asked the king for permission to kill her. Just when the king was about to grant it, the queen walked in. She begged the king to give her few seconds with Ifoma, and he agreed. A woman can do a lot of things when angry, but to this extent, I have never seen before. "Woman, tell us exactly what happened," the queen said. Ifoma busted out in tears. She narrated her story from how she was neglected, abused, humiliated, and how Emeka wanted to repeat the same cycle by taking advantage of her innocent daughter. The entire room was silent. The queen asked Chiamaka if it was true, and she said yes. The villagers did not want to believe her because Emeka had told them a different story about Ifoma in the past. Just when they were protesting, a girl came out crying. The queen asked her what was wrong, and she told everyone that she was a victim of Emeka's abuse, stating that she couldn't come out because of how the villagers treated victims. Everyone was shocked, and they began to look at each other. Before they knew what was going on, 7 girls came out and said the same thing. The queen was shocked and disappointed at the villagers. You see the evil we have allowed to penetrate our land because of our lack of empathy. I wonder how many of you are victims of this act alone. Yet, you want to condemn this woman for protecting her own daughter and putting an end to this barbaric act without even hearing her side of the story. Let us learn to put ourselves in other people's situation so that we can stop condemning innocent people. the queen said as she hugged them. All the villagers went home ashamed. They all started reflecting on everything they have done. The king and queen consoled the victims, passing an order that if anyone in the village ever criticized or bully again, that person would be made to face the wrath of the king. He apologized to Ifeoma for all the pain she had had to endure and ordered Emeka's body to be taken far into the forest in order not to contaminate the land. The villagers felt bad for all they did and said to Ifeoma. They all apologized to her, and Ifeoma forgave them. She thought of what she could do to make a difference in the village. So, she built a small union for all the victims in the village and helped them overcome their trials. Ifeoma dedicated her life to working hard, taking care of her children and offering help to those who needed it. And they lived happily ever after. This is the end of this story. The moral lesson of this story is that stigmatizing victims is wrong and hurtful. It worsens their suffering and prevents others from seeking help. We should always be supportive and kind instead of blaming or belittling those who have been hurt. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button. Subscribe to this channel and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. Share this video with your friends and drop a comment below on what you learned from this story. Would love to hear your thoughts. We love and appreciate you. See you in our next story.